Good morning from my new home in the Bukitingi area. It's about 6:30 in the morning, kind of a foggy morning, as you can see. Actually, here's some of the scenery around me. I don't know if the sky is overcast or not, but right now I've got a lot of fog up here. It's not actually raining, so I thought I'd take advantage of that and go for a walk around my new neighborhood. So this is the house where I'm staying right now. And of course, being up here in kind of a farming village area, you've got the roosters. So I've been listening to the roosters all morning. Oh, and who's this? Oh, puppy. I mean, I think it thought I was someone it recognized, it knew, and then it realized I was new to the neighborhood. Had tremendous amounts of rain recently, like unbelievable amounts. Look at that puppy. I'm sure I can get to know that puppy eventually as I stay here. It looks like it really wants to come in my direction. But yeah, I've had so much rain. I mean, just the puddles here and the mud here. And yesterday, the whole road trip from Pekanbaru to Bukitingi and then up to this village, it rained much of the time. And the rain seemed to have been much heavier in Bukitingi than in other areas. Just based on the amount of water on the roads. I mean, there was flooding on all sides of the roads. Wow, what a change of atmosphere. Feels like I was just in Kuala Lumpur, and now I'm here. And as you can see, just looking around, it's a very different place where I find myself now. I feel great this morning, I really do. I feel more rested than I have in a very long time, and I don't know why that would be. But I guess the flight from Kuala Lumpur to here, even though it was only an hour and a half long, it was still sort of stressful. And I didn't sleep that well the night before the flight, and I didn't sleep that well the night after the flight when I was in Pekanbaru. But now that I arrived here, this is sort of my destination, where my flight was supposed to take me eventually. And here I am. So I guess when I went to bed last night, my whole body and mind, everything just relaxed a lot more, and I got a lot more sleep. So what I thought I'd do right now, when I woke up this morning, I just wanted to see a little bit of my neighborhood early in the morning. And, it's always an interesting time to be anywhere. And at the same time, I could sort of recount the story of my trip to get here yesterday. Yeah, interesting area. I should turn the camera around just to show you what I'm looking at. I'm enjoying this scene. I stopped here because of this pond. A lot of the houses here have large ponds like this right in front of the house. As I said, there's a tremendous amount of water up here. We're on the slopes of a volcano, by the way, Mount Merapi, which is behind me. You can't see it yet, but it's over there. If you could see through the clouds, you'd see a volcano. And it's the most active volcano in Sumatra. So it's quite an interesting place to find oneself. A lot of farming up here, of course. Look at this, a vineyard. Actually, Adi, my host and the man who drove me here yesterday, he pointed this out to me as we rode past. Grapes, yeah. In front of a lot of the houses, you can see the land is tilled. So the land right here, this little patch of land is a garden, or small farmer's field. It was quite the adventure just getting here. My flight from KL to Pekanbaru. I told that whole story in another video. That was quite something. And that's probably one of the reasons I didn't sleep that well that night. I just had so many stories and thoughts and impressions going around in my mind. And I stayed the night at Adi and his wife's house. I was very kind of them. And when I arrived, Adi picked me up at the airport, and we had a really nice meal at his house. And I only stayed there for one night because we had the plan. Well, Adi had to return to Padang for his work. He works for a fertilizer company, and he's a sales manager. And he splits his time between Pekanbaru and Padang, and manages all of his teams of salespeople. And he does a lot of that on the road, as I found out. He is the master of the phone call. And it was quite something yesterday to ride with Adi in his car, because he was using, his phone on like a speaker phone, and just fielded calls all day long, using WhatsApp, voice call, and perhaps other systems as well. I'm not sure. But through the entire trip, he was managing his team and doing his job, and his sales reps would get questions from customers, and they would have to check with him, and he would talk with them. He was busy solving problems and motivating staff for big sales all day long, and that was really quite interesting. Of course, I didn't understand anything they were saying, and then the phone would ring, and there would be this very long, detailed conversation. And in my head, I'm trying to imagine, okay, it's a deal to sell fertilizer. What could have required, 15 minutes to talk about? What is it you talk about when you're selling fertilizer? But they had a lot of details to discuss. So that was the idea. Adi had to drive his car here anyway for his work. And they suggested that, well, instead of flying to Padang on my own, I could fly to Pekanbaru, and then I could hop in his car, ride shotgun, and come here, and they could drive me all the way to the house. And that turned out to be what I did. I remember when the idea to stay here and the idea to leave my bike here first came up, I had certain impressions of what the house was like and what the area was like. And my impression was that it was extremely remote and nothing up there. So that, if you stayed at this house, as I am doing, I just had the impression that you're sort of on your own. You've got to, like you're going wilderness camping or something. You have to bring all your own water and food and be fully independent. And there was talk of no internet access, and you wouldn't be able to go online. And that was kind of the impression I had of the place. And as you can see, looking around me, it is, a rural area, a farming area. I'm right inside the village itself, but if the fog lifted, you'd see fields, farmers' fields all over the place here. And so it is, and it's about 10 kilometers outside of Bukittinggi, and you have to climb from Bukittinggi up onto the slopes of the volcano to get here. So it's a bit of a climb even to get up here. So it is, remote in the sense that it's not downtown Bukittinggi, and you don't have all of the conveniences of being in a city. But it isn't as remote as I expected. When I came up here on my bike, I rode up from this direction, up a very small road, which was nothing but farmers' fields, and there was nothing there. So I thought, okay, that's what this area is like. But when Adi drove me here yesterday, he came in a different direction, what he called a shortcut off the main highway. And to get here, he followed a different road. And that road had a fair number of businesses on it, and little shops and restaurants. And there was quite a a bustling section just a few kilometers to the right. If I go down here, you know, in the direction I'm going, and there's another road here, you turn right and you reach sort of a bustling area full of shops. So, there's no worries about if I needed to buy water or batteries or I don't know, anything that I might need to do. I think I can do it up here. And in fact, I'm only 10 kilometers from downtown Bukittinggi, so I could hop on my bike and I could be in Bukittinggi in no time. So, and I discovered when I got here that there was an internet connection of a sort. So depending where you are, it gets weaker or stronger, you know, even inside the house and inside my room. So I'm not cut off as I thought I was going to be staying up here. It looks like even this house has a small shop at the front. Selamat pagi. But yeah, I think that's perhaps a common misconception of an urban dweller such as myself. Ooh, look at the spider webs here. All across the top of these bushes. You know, when you're in the city and you think you're going out into a village or a farming district, you're going to be cut off from everything. But of course, people live here and they need the exact same things that you need when you're in the city. So a village like this is going to have shops. You know, little businesses are going to develop. You're not going to be lacking here. And the people here, by the way, are the Minangkabau people. And I think it's often shortened to Minang, but the full name, if I'm pronouncing it remotely correctly, is a Minangkabau. And I believe kabau is the local word for like the cattle, you know, the bullocks. And I talked about this in another video with the Minangkabau people with this. They're indigenous to like West Sumatra, Riau province. You know, they cover a large area of like with the Western Sumatran highlands is where they live, where they're from. And when you come to Bukittinggi, you know, that's what the people here in the Bukittinggi area are Minangkabau, and you notice the unique roof styles, the shape of the roof here. It's a big part of all the buildings and the look of these towns. There's a modern example right across the road. So that's the shape there, the swooping curve with the points on either side. And apparently that is based on the horns of the cattle. The Minangkabau people, yeah. The kabau is the name of the cattle, and the roof line represents the shape of their horns. And I guess the Minangkabau society is matrilineal. It's a matrilineal society, and of course it is largely, well, I suppose, mainly Islamic. It's an Islamic group of people. So here's the main intersection of my village, right here. So when I came up here on my bicycle, that's the road that I came up here, and that just goes down into the farming countryside. And I got up to here and then made my way to the house. But when Adi drove me here yesterday, he came up on this road, the one that I'm walking down right now. It's another good example of the classic roof line that you see here. And yeah, this is the road that he came up on. And if I continue in this direction, one of the first places I'll come to of interest to me is actually a Mi Ayam Bakso place and kind of a coffee shop, which is along the road here. I can't remember how far away it was, but I might walk there. Yeah, I mean, if they were open and were serving coffee, I mean, oh boy, would that make me happy? There's a very interesting house. I'm sure there's a story to go along with this architecture. Look at that. Wonder how old that is. And then they have these two structures at the front. They almost look like towers. Big house too. That's what I've noticed. I think a lot of I'm guessing that the families live together in large groups, like an extended family, all living together, because the houses strike me as quite large. These are not single family dwellings, you know, for mother and father and two children. A lot more people live in these places than that, or at least originally. I was very excited when Adi made the offer, or the suggestion, that I could come with him to drive from Pekanbaru to here, because that gave me a chance to revisit the road, because I rode my bicycle from Pekanbaru to here over the course of I took my sweet time on that trip, of course. That was when I was still suffering with some knee problems. Selamat pagi. There's another a little shop over there, and a woman was giving me a big double thumbs up. Yeah, I bet you a lot of these little shops could make a cup of coffee too. But yeah, I stopped. I rode from Pekanbaru to Bangkinang, the small town, and I was experiencing some knee trouble then, so I decided to stay in Bangkinang for a while and rest my knee. And then when my knee started to feel better, then I continued riding, and I rode my bike up into the mountains to Bukit Tinggi. But because I stayed in Bangkinang and in Pekanbaru for so long, I didn't have a lot of time. So when I went into towns like Payakumbuh, I didn't spend much time there because my visa was expiring and I had to get to Bukit Tinggi and to the airport in a certain number of days. So in fact, I didn't spend as much time in a lot of these towns that I passed through as I would normally have done. And when Adi suggested that I come with him on his drive, even here, remote countryside, traffic is an issue in Indonesia. The road here is very narrow. And I think, just as Adi said, this road is a shortcut. He's not the only one that knows about it. So I guess there's a lot of traffic even on this countryside road. Everyone uses it as a shortcut to avoid even the busier main road. So as you can see, it's quite narrow, and I should walk on the other side. That car came up behind me and I couldn't really see it before it was right on top of me, so I should walk into traffic. Yeah, this is better. So as I said, when Adi suggested that I go with him, one of the advantages for me was that I would get to revisit the road, and everything that I saw in slow motion on my bicycle, I'd be able to see again, moving a little bit more quickly. So I was quite excited about that. I think that side of the road trip didn't work out quite as how I had expected. Selamat pagi. Mainly because of the rain. I couldn't really see anything. And there wasn't a lot of encouragement to stop anywhere because it was just raining all the time. Couldn't really see anything. But still, as we rode along, it was fun. I probably drove Adi crazy because, I don't know, when you're on a bike tour, when you're cycling, you remember everything. I mean, no detail escapes you. And wow, look at this house. I'm trying to tell my story, but I keep getting distracted by everything around me. Well, first, this house. Well, first, this house. Look at that. I imagine the base of this house is original, like that wooden one over there. This would all be very old. And then I'm guessing that the house originally had a wooden roof with thatch, but they kept the main base exactly as it was. And then in modern times, they replaced the old wooden thatch roof with a metal one, but maintaining the exact same shape. Imagine it takes some skill and some thinking and planning, like you're shaping metal sheets like that. Yeah, that would not be, that would take some effort to do. Wow, look at this, the spider web on there, all covered in dew, covered in fog. An interesting house here, and the one that caught my eye was over here. This is what got me to stop and stop telling my story. Just look at that. It looks like a cottage, or a giant cottage. Even up top there has a balcony with some nice chairs up there. And right around the corner here is the mosque, or one of the mosques. Hello. Oh, that is stunning. It really is stunning. It's like they built the mosque to mirror the architecture of the homes, haven't they? So as I was saying, I was probably driving Adi crazy because every half a kilometer I would point out, oh, I stopped there to take a drink of water, and oh, I stopped over there to take a picture, and I stopped there and I talked to these guys, and they, every half a kilometer along the road was of significance to me because I saw something there, or I did something there, took a picture there, met, had a snack there, had a drink there, and I was giving him a play-by-play breakdown of my entire bike ride. It's like, oh, this part was really steep and it was hard to get up, and yeah. But for me, it's really interesting to go back. I like going back to places. You see it the first time, the second time can be very, very interesting. You see more, yeah, I just like it. I like revisiting places. I like backtracking, going back to the same place, but at a new time. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. Before we left from Pekanbaru, a few things happened. Early in the morning, I had breakfast with Adi and his wife. She was kind enough to go out into the town while I was still, showering and drinking coffee and doing my morning routine. She was out getting me breakfast, and she came back with delicious ayam bubur. Bubur ayam bubur. And it's sort of a morning rice porridge that is a common morning dish here. It's probably my favorite morning dish. Love it. And so we had that for breakfast. And then as we're getting closer to the time to leave, she started preparing kind of a picnic basket for me and for Adi. Because he's going out of town for a few days. He's kind of living the bachelor life when he's in Padang. And she's worried that he's not going to be eating right, and she's packing up all kinds of fresh fruit and food for him to bring with him, making sure he's got water, and then she's doing the same for me. She's actually building on the kitchen table. She's putting together two big piles. One pile was the Doug pile, all this food that she was going to give to me to bring with me when I come to this village, and then the other pile was for Adi, to bring with him. And of course, she, as time went by, she's roaming around her kitchen and just thinking of more and more and more things, you know, to add to the pile, to make sure that neither of us is going to starve to death when we get to where we're going. It was very kind of her. Well, this, I think, this would have been the Ayam Baksa place right here in the little coffee shop, but clearly it's not open early in the morning, so that's all right. I'm just doing this short walk, and I'm going to have coffee back at the house. And then just before we were going to get in the SUV and start the trip, they had the idea to bring some coconuts, for the family that's staying here at their house. And they have a coconut tree in their yard that Adi is very particular about. He's very proud of that tree because it came from a seed. I don't even know what a coconut tree seed is. Is the coconut itself the seed? Like, if you have a coconut, could you put it in the ground and it would grow a tree? I don't even know. And but anyway, he had a seed from a coconut tree from Thailand, which was known for producing a very sweet coconut milk inside the coconut. So he planted this in his yard, and he likes those coconuts very much, and he decided to cut down some of the coconuts and bring them with him on this trip. One thing I noticed yesterday revisiting that road is that your perception of the amount of traffic on a road is related to how quickly or how slowly you're moving. Because my sense going with Adi was there wasn't nearly as much truck traffic as I remember. But of course that's because he was moving at the same speed as all the other traffic. So they're all moving together. But when you're on a bicycle, relative to a truck, you're practically stationary. So every single vehicle on the road is faster than you. Oh boy. Boy, he came around that corner and thought he was going to hit that man, that big truck. But you are aware, on a bicycle, you're aware of every truck, every car, every motorcycle, because every single one passes you. And I'm having that feeling right now because I'm walking and every single vehicle is passing me. But if I were driving in a car, I wouldn't see as much traffic simply because we're all moving at the same speed. Does that make any sense? We're not passing each other, so you don't see nearly as much traffic as you do when you're walking or cycling. But right now, yeah, there's a lot more traffic on this road than I was expecting. When I set off on this morning walk, I wasn't thinking I'd be dodging trucks quite this early in the morning, but that's what I'm doing. Indonesia, Sumatra. That's what it's all about. Well, this is as far as I'm going to go in this direction, I think. There isn't much point walking farther along this main road. It's just going to be more and more traffic. Actually, I noticed maybe sometimes there's oh, I see, right over here. A little cafe, little restaurant there. Sky is starting to clear up a little bit. And over here, yeah, I guess this makes sense. It's why they would put this little cafe here, because the landscape opens up a bit here, and you're starting to get views of the valley below. And down there, that's Bukittinggi. So that's the city of Bukittinggi down there. Yeah, I can just make it out in the morning mist. All these farmers' fields. Very beautiful sight this time of the morning. Ah, a little bit of a volcano appearing, I believe. That one is, oh, I forgot the name of it. Starts with an S. And I believe Marapi is still over here, still behind the clouds. I think. I often get disoriented in mountains. I lose my sense of direction. But on the slopes of that volcano, you can just make out all the little villages, little houses, little buildings. Gives you a scale, sense of scale of that place. Amazing. Yeah, I'm going to turn around at this point and head back into the village itself. It's also a busy time on the road in the morning like this because all the students are going to school. Everybody's going to work, but all the people going to work have to get their kids to school first. Hello. So with picnic lunches piled into the car, with coconuts piled into the car, and Addie chopped open one of the coconuts for me to sample the sweet coconut juice inside. That was very nice. And then it was time to pile in and finally leave. But before we left town, Addie took us to his warehouse. He said he built the whole thing himself. Like, he bought the land and then built his own warehouse, a workshop, because his hobby is restoring classic French cars. Apparently, Citroen had a presence in Sumatra or in Indonesia for a brief time. He told me the story, but the details slip my mind right now. But maybe back in the 80s or something like that, maybe the 90s. I think it was the 80s, maybe. Citroen was selling cars in Sumatra, but then for whatever reason, the company left. I better get out of here. This is not a safe place to be standing. Got this giant puddle here. A truck is going to come along and splash me. And it's a very tight curve too. It's very, very dangerous here. There's not a lot of room for humans and vehicles, so I better get out of here. And I don't know if Adi had this interest his whole life. Maybe he was a car guy all the way from when he was a boy, I don't know, but he suddenly found himself interested in restoring Citroens, and that has been his hobby. And he's interested enough in it to actually build his own warehouse and his own workshop where he can spend his hours, his non-work hours, restoring cars. And he had two of them there that he had nearly completed, or maybe they were fully complete. They looked complete to me. He showed me a photograph of how they looked at the beginning, and there was nothing. I mean, there was just the body, and the body, to me, looked like it consisted of nothing but rust. So that's what he was starting with in terms of rebuilding these cars. Looks like it's going to be a nice day. Very happy about that. And then he took them all the way to a finished car with all original parts, everything working. So I was really interested to see the cars, and he drove us to his warehouse. Okay.
Sekolah.
Oh yeah, Skola.
Yeah. Adele.
Adele.
Yeah.
How are you, Adele? Have a good day. My video camera. Okay, I'll see you later. That's my hostess. Boy, I wish I could have done all of that in Bahasa Indonesia, but I don't know those words, and I'm sort of thinking in English right now. But that was Ibu Noor and her daughter Adele. And as I said, everyone has to bring their kids to school. And just as I say that, that's what she's doing. She's driving Adele to school. And yeah, she's just a lovely woman, really lovely. So yeah, the cars were amazing. I don't know anything about cars. I certainly don't know anything about Citroens. And I was quite surprised to learn, well, they're air-cooled. I didn't know that. Like Volkswagen Beetles, you know, they're air-cooled engines. They have the spare tire in the engine compartment. And Adi explained that was done partially for safety, that if there was a head-on collision, having the spare tire ahead of you would act as like a crumple zone. You know, it would protect the driver and the passengers. And most interestingly, they have no spring suspension of any kind, no coiled springs, no, you know, bar springs, whatever. It's all done with hydraulic. It's a hydraulic suspension.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So when Adi got into the car and he started it up for me, I was looking at it, I thought I was imagining things because I thought I saw the car like float up into the air. The whole car started to rise. And I thought, what the heck is going on here? And I thought maybe he built in some of these you know, hydraulic systems that are popular with certain types of cars, you know, where they have the risers, the whole car, the front of the car can go up and down and things like that. I thought, oh, why did he build that into the car? But it turns out that's part of what Citroen's did, because it has a big hydraulic pump system built into the engine. And when you start the car, you know, it feeds power into the hydraulics and it lifts the car up. And then the hydraulics are the suspension. I didn't know that. It's pretty amazing. And I can't even imagine what it would be like restoring any car, but then restoring a car that has hydraulic suspension takes some know-how, takes some talent, and takes time tracking down the parts, I'm sure. Anyway, it's pretty amazing to see those cars. I'm just passing by the mosque again, Masjid Suhada. And there's that amazing house again. Well, once Adi and I checked out his cars, then it was time to hit the road. Yeah, it was no surprise. It took us a long time to get out of Pekanbaru. You know, I had a heck of a time getting out on my bicycle, and he was facing the same thing in his car. Just a ton of traffic. Yeah, very overloaded with vehicles, these cities in Sumatra. And we talked a little bit about, you know, Jakarta. I've been hearing stories about Jakarta, and the stories I hear about Jakarta make it sound like a place. I mean, I've been to Jakarta. I went there long ago, but based on the stories I've heard, I have no interest in going there again. You know, they say that, well, if you think the traffic in Pekanbaru is bad, if you think the congestion is bad there, wait till you see Jakarta, you know? I'm kind of jealous of all these kids in Sumatra, just because they can all go to school on scooters. It's like, it's a very, very common thing, and how fun would that be? Like, a lot of them, they seem very young, you know, almost like grade school students or junior high school students, and a lot of them have their own scooters, and yeah, they just zip around on their scooters all day, go to their friend's house, pick up their friend on their scooter, go to school. How fun would that be? Once we escaped from the traffic of Pekanbaru, I don't know that there's a lot to say about the road trip overall, because, as I said, I pestered Adi with my thoughts about, oh, I saw what I did here, what I saw here, you know, when I was on my bike. And it was fun to see all the places that went through before. And we took one of the toll roads. On a bicycle, I couldn't go on the toll roads, but he took the toll road, and eventually this new highway, the toll road system, is going to go all the way from Padang on the coast all the way to Pekanbaru and beyond, I suppose. But I can only imagine the challenges involved in getting that major highway through these mountains. So it's a big, big construction project. And we went through Bangkinang, of course, but we didn't really stop anywhere. There wouldn't have been much point because it was raining so much. It wouldn't be very pleasant, you know, getting out of the car. Passing a school. Well, this must be the main school. Hello. Nice uniforms for them.
Oh.
Selamat pagi. Pagi. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Where you come from?
I'm from Canada. Canada. Ah.
Please.
Oh, okay.
Coffee.
Coffee? Yeah, coffee would be nice. So I stopped in a little cafe here for a cup of coffee. And the coffee just arrived. Hello. So there's my coffee. They make it with they put the grounds right in the water, and then the grounds, you know, sink down to the bottom. So it's not filtered out or anything like that. And the normal thing here would be they bring a plate of snacks like that to the table, and then you can have anything you like, and then you pay for it at the end. So I'm going to have a couple of snacks. So you can see all the men of the village. Hello, selamat pagi. They come here for a cigarette and a snack, a coffee, you know, meet their friends. Feels nice and hot, which is nice. Oh, and then I got some sugar. I think I might add a little bit of sugar. They have sugar on a plate. Yeah, it's quite strong, bitter coffee. So sugar is nice in it. Take a little bit of the edge off. Apa inu?
Bakwad.
Oh, bakwad.
Bakwad. This name bakwad.
Bawad. I remember this snack from before. Oh, bawad.
You try.
Oh, pisang?
Yeah.
Banana.
Yeah.
Pisang.
Pisang Indonesia speak.
Said pisang goreng?
Yeah, goreng to
So I think this is a fried banana. Pisang goreng.
Yes,
And this one?
Lape.
Lape?
Lape.
Lape. There's one more snack to try. Wrapped in a banana leaf. So, apa ini?
Lape.
Lampek?
Yeah, lape.
Lampek? Whoa. Oh, okay, that's different. There's it's what it looks like. But I don't know what it is. Oh, okay. I think he's telling me that this snack is made here. It's like a regional thing. tebu, tebu, a sugar cane.
Yeah, tabu.
I think it's made from sugar cane.
Yeah, tabu.
It's very sweet. Well, it's actually not too sweet, but there's a lot of sugar in here. This is made from sugar cane. Yeah, it's good. So that last snack that I had, it was fine. It wouldn't be my first choice on a second visit. Just all that sugar cane all at once. That's a lot. So, but yeah, my favorite, anything with banana in it is always my favorite. So the fried banana would probably be the winner for me. But I like the other one too. It's very spicy. It's like basically fried egg and dough and then veggies and then sometimes they get really spicy, sometimes not. This one is actually pretty spicy. I like it. So I think I'll order one of the cups of tea that they have here and get the comparison with the coffee. And this is interesting. This is where, they make the tea. Tea. And there's the tea preparation area, tea and coffee. Okay. Thank you. Terima kasih. So, teh bendera. It's local tea. I don't know if it's pre-sweetened or not. We'll see. Yeah, it is. Yeah, sweetened, which is what I wanted. It's good. Minuman ini enak. The only thing is, I'm not macho enough for the it's funny. I want everything to be as hot as possible, but then in these cups, like this tea is so hot, I can't hold on to the cup. It's too hot for me. I think I have to raise it with the saucer. Yeah. My fingers aren't calloused enough. All right, finished my morning coffee and tea. There's the place right behind me where I had my snacks. The winner was the fried banana, pisang goreng. That was very good. And then the other one, my second favorite, well, they're about equal. The bakwan, sort of the deep fried eggs and batter. Very, very tasty. And the tea was good, coffee was good, company was good. So yeah. So my bill came to Jutuk Balas Ribu, 17,000 rupiah, which is just slightly over $1 US, I guess, for a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 snacks. Wow. So I did some reading about the volcanoes and got a little bit of information. The volcano that we could see earlier, that's not Mount Merapi. That's as I thought. It's a different one. Starts with the letter S, so I was right about that. It's Mount Singgalang. Mount Singgalang. And Mount Singgalang is 2,849 meters high. And it has 2 lakes at the top, like inside the crater. There are 2 lakes up there. Supposed to be quite beautiful. Mount Merapi, which is right here, you can see a little bit of it coming out of the clouds. It seems to be covered in clouds more often than Mount Singgalang. I always see Mount Singgalang, and then Mount Merapi always seems to be behind clouds. But here it is up ahead of me. You can just see the edges of it there. And where I am now, this village is actually on the slopes of Mount Merapi. May not look like it from here, but we're actually right on the slope of that volcano. We're climbing up into it. And I believe that one is 2,891 meters. So it's just slightly higher than Mount Singalong, but they're basically the same height. Somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000 feet. And I don't have any plans to try and climb to the top of either one of them. I've gone up to the top of one or two volcanoes in my life, and it's a challenge. I mean, it's not something you take on lightly, and quite often I don't know that there's. I mean, you get the physical challenge and selamat pagi, and you get some interesting scenery along the way. Generally, you get to the top and you're just socked in by clouds. You can't see anything, and the climb up there is tough. Just straight up, loose, volcanic, rubble underneath your feet. It's a tough climb. I think a lot of people have tried to climb volcanoes in their life because the volcano kind of looks easy. You can sort of see the top of it and you think, oh, I'll climb up to the top of that volcano. And it just turns out to be brutally hard, much harder than people expect. Just to stop to take a look at this small cemetery here. And to finish the story of yesterday, I don't think there's much else to tell. Addie and I arrived here after 8 or 9 hours on the road. Not driving the entire time, but the whole the journey as a whole was between 8 and 9 hours long. This is the road that leads to my current home. So yeah, we got here late afternoon, and the family that's currently living in this house, they were expecting me. The Adi and his wife had been in communication with them, and when I arrived, there was this big bustle of activity to get me settled into my room, and everything worked out really, really well. As I said at the beginning, I was expecting fairly rough conditions, and yet it's far nicer than my expectations, because they actually have a water dispenser machine in the big room outside my room, and it serves up like cold water. I mean, it's ice cold water. It comes out of that thing. It's so delicious. And hot water, hot enough for coffee. And then there's a bathroom right there. There was a funny scene when I was back in Pekanbaru, because they were talking about me being here and what it was going to be like and making all the arrangements. And one thing was, there's 2 bathrooms in this house. One is towards the back, and the family that lives here, they use that bathroom. And to get access to it, you'd have to kind of walk through their living room and family room and dining room to get to that bathroom. And the other bathroom is near my room, but they said the door was locked, and through miscommunication and some kind of accident, somebody had taken the key, and the key was currently in Jakarta. So I was like, ooh, okay, well, it'd be nice if, I had access to that bathroom, but, I mean, they said, yeah, you can just use the family's bathroom, so, we'll work that out. But because the key was in Jakarta, I wouldn't be able to use the main bathroom. But then when we showed up here, as I was hoping, lo and behold, the whole story of the key turned out to be not true. And the bathroom door was wide open. It wasn't locked, So I have a nice bathroom there. And there was a lot of discussion of how cold the water was going to be, like for a bucket bath. Selamat pagi.
Pagi, Pak.
Pagi.
Mister. Pagi.
Pagi.
Jalan-jalan ke agrowisata jeruk.
Saya tidak bisa bicara bahasa Indonesia.
Oh, ya susah, Pak.
No.
Hubungin celana. Ya. Jalan-jalan ke atas. Nah, hati yang bawa kebun.
Oh, kibun.
Orange.
Oh, orange.
Yes.
Kibun. Kibun. I know that word, right? My brain, I hate my brain sometimes because I've heard the word kibun a million times. I should know what it is, and they're saying kibun to me. And at this point in time, I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to look it up. Maybe I'm imagining things because I just looked for the word kibun in Google Translate and on the internet, and all I could find was a reference to some kind of Japanese food or something. So maybe it's a new word. But yeah, I couldn't understand what those two women were saying to me. They said orange in English, but I'm not quite sure what they were trying to tell me. And yeah, there's a key to the front door as well. But when I went out for my walk this morning, I didn't think I'd be going very far. So I didn't lock the door behind me, and I didn't bring the key because I figured the people would still be here. So I'm not quite clear on how the key works. Like when I go outside, what do? I lock all the doors behind me. I don't want to lock them out of their own house. So anyway, we'll figure that out over time. And here we are, back at the house. And hopefully the front door is open and I can go inside. Because I met the mother and she was taking Adele. I met Ibu Nor and she was taking Adele to school. But I imagine she's, yeah, the door's open. That's great. I want to see if I can make friends with this puppy. And that will be my final act of the morning. Hello. Oh, yes. Come on. Hello. Oh. This is a little bit of a nibbler. He likes to bite. Oh, little guy. Are you crying or are you happy? I hope you're happy. I don't know. What's going on here? Hey, puppy. Hello. But he looks well fed, looks happy. Hey. Just overexcited. Maybe that's where all the whimpering is coming from. I'm just overexcited. It's got those needle sharp puppy teeth, you know. All right, I'll see you later. Okay. And Bapak Iwan, he just popped his head out the door there when I was playing with the puppy, and he said, makanan, so like breakfast. So let's see if, yeah, maybe they've prepared some breakfast for me this morning. Anyway, that's the end of my little walk for this morning. Yeah, that was really nice. I'm glad I went out. It's always nice to see a place, you know, early in the morning when it's waking up and everything was covered in mist. All right. Yeah, it's the end of my morning adventures, and I'll see you in the next video.